Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be listing 10 authors that I would like to read more from. So this is a video concept that I did quite a few years ago now, and I was looking back on it and I was like, there are a couple of these that are still true, and then there's a few of these that aren't true anymore, or like I might have read from the author and finished their backlist, or I'm like, I guess I would read more from them, but I'm not feeling the desire to read more from them immediately. So I have a new list here. Some of them, a couple of them are repeats, and then the rest are brand new based on what I've been reading over the past sort of 3 or so years since I did that original video. I will link it if you're interested in checking it out, but it is old. But it is, for me, such a balancing act between reading authors that are new and new to me authors that have books that I am very much interested in, as well as reading from authors that I've read from before where I have enjoyed their works and want to read more from them. So it is such a balance. It's a hard balance. So here are some authors that I've read from before, love their work, and they have other works. They have a whole, bibliography that I am interested in and would like to read from. I've tried to pick authors where it's not just like they have one series and I want to continue on with that series. These are like authors that have multiple series or multiple books that I would like to get into, having enjoyed some of their previous ones. For example, Brandon Sanderson is no longer on this list. He was, I believe, on the first videos list, but currently I only have Rhythm of War to read, I believe, and some of the short stories, and I'm not interested in reading the Steelheart, is that the name of the series? Anyway, pretty much just Rhythm of War, so he's not qualifying in my head. Just going through the order in which I wrote them down, I would like to read more Juliette Marillier. So I have read 7 Juliette Marillier books, and I've read 3 of them this year in 2024, and I love her books. I absolutely love them. So I have read the Seven Waters trilogy, the original trilogy, which is here, and then I have also read this year the Blackthorn and Grimm trilogy, the first book being Dreamer's Pool, and I have loved them all. I have also read Wildwood Dancing, which is a YA story that she's written. So I've loved the lot, and she has a lot more to give me. She has plenty of other series out there for me to read. I currently do not own any, but there is the second trilogy within the Seven Waters series, so I could go for that. She has the Light Isles, I'm guessing duology. She has the Brideye Chronicles. She has some standalones. I think she's got more than what is currently written in here. I know she's got a new book, I think, coming out in 2025. So there are plenty of options for me to choose from with Juliette Marillier. I'm not sure which one I want to go to next. I definitely want to continue on reading her works. Definitely. I've had such positive experience with the books that I have read, and long may that continue. So I just need to pick which ones I go for next. I think one of the series is a spin-off from this one, so I could go for that one. I could continue Seven Waters. The issue with Seven Waters is it doesn't match these editions, which is probably one of the reasons why I haven't continued, is that 4, 5 and 6 do not match. So I would have unmatching sets, and I guess I'm okay-ish. Like, obviously those books don't match at all, these ones, which are mass markets, and I don't. Anyway, I just need to figure out where to go next. Okay, next, and this one is also a repeat. I think Juliette Marillier might have been a repeat as well, because I'd started her when I made the original video, and that is V.E. Schwab. Maybe that's how I started. I started this with the repeats. V.E. Schwab. So V.E. Schwab is an author that I've been reading for many years. I have read multiple works of hers. So I have read the Our Dark Duet duology, I've read Gallant, I've read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I think is my favourite of hers. I have read the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy. I've read the archived duology. I know it was meant to be a trilogy, but the duology that's out. So I've read a good few, but I have not read Vicious. I've been delaying this because I know that this is going to be a trilogy, and it's just been on a very slow release. So I have had this one for quite a while and would like to get to it at some point. And I know that Vengeful is released, which is the sequel, and she's working on the 3rd one. So I just need to get to this at some point, but I do have this still to read. I do have this one still to read. And I also have the spin-off of the Dark Shade of Magic trilogy, so the Fragile Threads of Power, and I guess subsequent books in this series. So I don't have loads now. There isn't a lot here, but there is something. I also have not read The Near Witch. That's another one that I have not read. I haven't had the best reviews for that, and I know that it's older, so it's potentially not as well polished as her newer stuff, but I definitely would like to continue working through V.E. Schwab. A recent author to the list is Raymond E. Feist. So I very recently read Magician, Apprentice and Master, the first two books in the Rift War saga, and Raymond E. Feist is a very prolific author. He has a lot of books. I mean, he's been writing for many, many years. That's why he has so many, because he started in like the 70s. So there is a lot of them. So for me right now, I would like to continue on with the Rift War saga and read Silverthorn, which is the third book in that series. But there are so many out there, so many more for me to choose from. What I would like to prioritize is reading the Daughter of the Empire series, which he co-wrote with Janny Wirtz. So that's my like priorities with this author. It is continuing with this series, then reading the Daughter of the Empire trilogy, and then seeing how I feel and seeing where I might want to go next. But there is a big bibliography here for me, a big bibliography, so many books, and yeah, a lot of world for me to get into. And I do enjoy that. I do like seeing an author who writes within the same world, yeah, and seeing them explore it through different angles and different series, and having that big expansion of a world. I find that really enjoyable. I love world building. I absolutely love world building. Excited to continue my journey with Raymond E. Feist. Another, I guess, epic fantasy author, but slightly more modern, is Joe Abercrombie. So last year I read the First Law trilogy. I have it over here. So I've read that trilogy, and this is sort of one trilogy, but sort of not. So I'm counting it. I would like to continue reading from Joe Abercrombie. I have taken a break since reading that original trilogy, and I haven't continued on in, it's been probably over a year now, but I am getting myself ready to continue on in the First Law world. And continue on with his works. So I have the standalones to read, the first one being Best Served Cold, and then I'll have the other standalones and then the next trilogy. So I am very excited about that. I'm also excited about The Devils, which is his new project, which is coming out in early 2025. I know it's not out yet, but I definitely have quite a lot of Joe Abercrombie bibliography ahead of me, which I do intend to get to and continue exploring. An author where I've read one of their trilogies is Jen Williams. So I've read the Ninth Reign trilogy by her, but I know that she has a few other books. So I own Talon Sister, which is the first book in a duology, and I believe the sequel is actually coming out this year, so not long at all till I can maybe read this and then finish it as well. I've heard really good things about this. I actually picked this up like as a signed edition in Forbidden Planet not that long ago, so I think this would be my next priority with Jen Williams. But she does have another trilogy called The Copper Cat, the first one being The Copper Promise. I believe it centres dragons, at least based on the cover, it's got dragons in it. But this one would be my priority one to get into. Yeah, a couple of bits and pieces for me to read from her. The next author is Marie Brennan. So I've only read her as a duo author in The Mask of Mirrors, which I have really loved that trilogy. So I would be excited to read some of the books that she has written solo, and she has a couple of series that I am very interested in. I do not own either of them, but I am very interested in them. Although I haven't read a book that she's written by herself yet, she very much intrigues me based on how much I loved The Mask of Mirrors. And I don't know how much of that was Marie Brennan, how much of that was Alice Helms, so I don't know who wrote which bits, but definitely interested in the A Natural History of Dragons series that Marie Brennan has written. That one really, really intrigues me. I've heard it compared to Emily Wilde, which I really love. So I just enjoyed that like researching aspect of looking at the dragons and the life that she's going through. She also has like a Fae book that came out, or series that came out many years ago, called Midnight Never Come, or the first book in the Onyx Court series, which I think is like a Fae society in the UK set during the Elizabethan times. Hidden catacombs and Fae and London, and it all sounds great. I don't know how great it is because it is quite old, and I have seen like one of the books in the series, I think it's one of the latest ones or one of the last ones in Forbidden Planet, on sale, and I'm like, I can't buy you because you're like book 5, and even though you're really cheap, I'm not buying book 5. So I am definitely interested in picking up book 1. So definitely interested in trying out more Marie Brennan. I don't know which one to go for first. Maybe The Natural History of Dragons, because I see that one around a lot more. Overall, as an author, definitely want to read more from her. An author who I've read a few books from, but her bibliography is massive. massive, is T. Kingfisher. So I've read a few. I've read like Nettle and Bone, I've read Thornhedge I loved. I've listened to a few on audiobook as well. I read like Bryony and Roses. So I've read a few, but I have so many more to read. There are so many books that T. Kingfisher has written, and she's written so many across different genres. I've pretty much looked at her fantasy so far, but I do have A House with Good Bones, which is one of her more horror leaning books. So I have recently picked this one up to give a try, but there are plenty of other ones that I'm interested in. So she's got a new release that has just come out called A Sorceress Comes to Call. She has Paladin's Grace, which really intrigues me. She has one called like Seventh Bride, which really intrigues me. So there are loads. I have loads that intrigue me. Plenty of T. Kingfisher books that really intrigue me. So I'd love to continue exploring her back catalogue of books. I haven't given anything 5 stars. Well, I think Thornhedge might have been like a 4.5 to 5 star. Like, I loved that one, but I think there is like potential within some of her back catalogue for them to be like 4 5-star reads, hopefully 5-star. So definitely excited to continue working my way through T. Kingfisher. Then an author that I've read quite a lot from, but I continue, like V. Schwab, to have multiple other books that I have not read, is Susan Dennard. So for Susan Dennard, I have read some of her older works. I read the Something Strange and Deadly series, which is very old now, read and enjoyed that one. And I read quite a lot of the Witchlands series. It's right at the top of the shelf, right at the top, up there. I was reading that series quite a few years ago, and then I kept getting to a point where I was rereading for the next book's release, and so eventually I just decided to pause and wait. I do have I think it's 4th book in that series on my TBR, but I want to reread before I get to it, and I know that the 5th and final book is coming out in spring next year, so my intention being that I would start my reread and conclusion of that series next year. But she also has the Luminaries series or trilogy, which I am definitely interested in reading, having pretty much enjoyed everything she has written. So I think that one is concluding at the end of this year. So I know the first 2 books are out, with the 3rd book due to come out. So I have that whole trilogy that I would like to get into by her. But I think my priority is finishing the Witchlands series, which has been many years in the making. Many years. I've had that series on my ongoing list because I started Truth Witch in like 2016. Potentially 2016, 2017. I mean, I've loved it. I've continued to love it, and I hope when I do my reread that I still love it, but it just feels like it's been a long time in the making, that one. But once I've got that all wrapped up, I would love to read the Luminaries. And then in reverse, I have an author where I've only read one of their books, and they have a massive bibliography for me to read, and I think for a while I've been intending to read more from them, and I just haven't, because it's completely my fault, I just haven't. And that is Adrian Tchaikovsky. So I've read Children of Time, which is one of his sci-fi works. Adrian Tchaikovsky writes across sci-fi and fantasy, so I've read that one. Plenty more others that I could read. I do own Empire in Black and Gold, which is the start of his fantasy series. I think there are like bug-like people in this. And I've had this one for quite a while. I know that this series, you can, I think, read the first 4 books as like an arc, and then there's like 10 in total. It can go many different ways with how you read this, or how many books in the series that you read. But he then also has a massive range of other books and plenty of options for me to choose from. I mean, I would guess I would go in with this one for the next one, although this book has been like hidden on the back of my shelf for a little while on the 2nd row, which is why I've sort of been forgetting about it. But I have plenty of other ones. Potentially I could go with one of his like sci-fi standalones, as that might be more of an ease to like get back into reading his works, but I definitely want to read more from him. And then the final author to talk about for this list, I mean, definitely not the final one that I would like to be continuing to read more from. I'm sure there's plenty of other authors. These are just the top 10 that came to mind. But the final one is Naomi Novik. Actually, I have read quite a lot of Naomi Novik's work, and the one I haven't read is probably the one that she's most known for, or I don't know, one of her like biggest series, and that is the Temeraire series. So I have read Uprooted and Spinning Silver, Uprooted being my favourite of her works. I've also read the Scholomance series, and that one I had some more mixed feelings on. Overall enjoyment, but a bit more mixed. And then she has this whole series, which I think is 7 books long, which I am interested in reading. She also has a like short story collection which is coming out in September, so definitely interested in picking that up, and I think that has some stories which come from her other works, as well as some like standalone things, so interested in checking that out. But I would like to get to the Temeraire series. I picked this one up like secondhand, and you can probably tell it's quite a battered copy, but I do know that there is now like a, I don't know, normal size paperback, like nice editions. So I think if I do enjoy this, I would go out and like get a nice sort of clean set of them. But for now, I have had this one for ages and I haven't read it. My intention with Naomi Novik would be to get into this series that she has written. And I am excited about it because I do like dragons. Do love a dragon. I've got a few dragons on this list actually, or a few authors that have written dragon books. Marie Brennan, Naomi Novik, Jen Williams. I've got a good few dragons here. There are a good few dragons on this list. Okay, theme of dragons here, but definitely need to read some more. So those are 10 authors where I have read from them previously and I would like to continue on making my way through their backlist, that they have released more books and I just haven't read them. There are definitely authors where I want them to release more books. I want more books, but I'm up to date and I'm very sad about it, and I would love for there to be more, but there aren't. So in this instance, I have the option. I have more, I just haven't got to them yet. Let me know if you have a list of authors that you are wanting to continue on with their backlist, and if you have read any of these books that I've mentioned today. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my future videos. Bye!